Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here for the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your Planning Outlook video updated on Friday the 17th of November. Now it's a chilly weekend again. We've got northwesterly winds bringing snow to northern and northwestern Scotland in particular, upland gales during Saturday, which will tend to ease as we go through the weekend, so lighter winds for most places on Sunday as a slack high pressure takes charge, and then a really messy picture as we go into the start of next week. We've got colder air still hanging on across northern regions, but milder air and fronts trying to extend in from the Atlantic, so an awkward mix of rain and snow. Later in the week, it looks as though wetter and milder conditions are in for a time, but we may be just colder again as we head towards next weekend. A quick look at the weekend's charts then. Plenty more details as always in all the written content on the website. We've got that northwesterly upland gale then across Scotland, a front that's edging its way southwards, producing some frequent snow at times, particularly across northern areas as we go through into the afternoon. Across England and Wales, a bright picture across the Pennines, but a zone of rain and drizzle coming into mid and south Wales will bring rather murky, unpleasant conditions here, but at least winds are fairly light. Sunday may hang on to one or two snow flurries in the far north, but looks as though that northwesterly wind will be easing away, eventually replaced by something coming in from the south or southwest by later Sunday, which may just start to bring some lowering cloud and bits of drizzly rain or maybe some snow grains onto western mountains. But all in all, a reasonable looking day, winds fairly light, still a chilly one, but some sunny periods around. Now as for next week, all a very uncertain picture, so don't assume that this chart has all the details on it. Basically, fronts are trailing in from the Atlantic. They may well give extensive rain for some areas of Scotland and northern England, and a mix with some snow up over the mountains, perhaps down to quite low levels, maybe even down below 300 or 400 metres across central southern parts of Scotland, perhaps even northern England if this whole thing is a little bit further southwards. So tricky with those details. Keep a very close eye on your forecast by this time. The risk of wind strengthening as well, I think more so across the southern mountain regions, Lake District southwards, nearer to the centre of the low across Scotland, winds would be proportionally lighter. But I just think that chilly air may hang on long enough to allow that frontal precipitation to come in as some snowfall, at least for a good many hours, before perhaps just transitioning slowly more and more to rain. And it's a similar nasty mix into Tuesday really. Milder air is still trying to bully its way in from the southwest. Colder air is still in place around Scotland and to the north of the British Isles. And it's that battleground once again as fronts try and trail their way in. So a rather murky picture across many western and southwestern areas. Some very low cloud in across Wales, perhaps even further north into the Lake District and southwest Scotland, with some rain and some sleet and some snow all mixed in at various levels. Hard to get the absolute detail. I suspect there is still some snow up over the mountains, but perhaps just that freezing level may be a little bit higher. And that seems to be the story into midweek, that milder air is trying to push ever further northwards as days go by. Some heavy rain may develop across some western regions as these fronts just become more active. The area of low pressure that's focused west of Britain just seems to be deepening a bit by this time. So upland gales and heavy rain could well be the story, with freezing levels lifting above the summits. So what about looking further ahead, and of course difficulties with the details just based on how uncertain the short range information is looking, but this may give something of a steer towards the end of November. It's a chart I showed you in the video on Tuesday. It's pressure anomalies essentially in the middle layers of the atmosphere. And we've got a zone of high pressure that's focused around Greenland and the polar regions, which is of quite an important factor at this time of year. It's a blocking pattern which stops the jet stream coming screaming at us across the Atlantic, and it can be one that produces colder air masses coming in from the Arctic and generally from the northeast. So that's quite a strong feature that's in the atmosphere at the moment, but it's meeting quite a strong area of high pressure that's focused over the western Mediterranean and central southern parts of Europe, which is drawing in some very mild air, it looks likely, by this time, and that's going to try and influence the south of Britain. So we're stuck very much in the middle, and the green colours that you can see indicate lower pressure. One of those is centred over Scandinavia, another is out over the Atlantic, and we're somewhere in between really, with just a tendency towards lower pressure around our shores. But the fact that we are in between these various weather systems just puts us at the crossroads of all the possibilities that could come towards us in many respects. Many indications for a while have been featuring this idea of a north-northeasterly or a colder pattern overall towards the end of November, and it's the one that we still lean towards, at least the scope for wintry conditions being in the picture, but confidence of absolute detail is still quite low, so plenty to play for yet in the days ahead. So hopefully that's been useful for you. A bit of a tricky one as we go forwards into next week just on those details, so stay right up to date with the very latest information. We've also been doing some shorter videos that have gone out on our social media feeds and YouTube channel as well. They've just given some extra information on the next few days ahead, and we'll update those over the weekend as well, just to try and fill in some of those uncertainties on next week. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.